Hey guys, my name is Ellen and today I'm going to be filming a September favorites. So this video is kind of going up later than I had wanted, so it's like a September favorites slash, first week of October favorites, but that's okay. All this stuff is being carried over into October anyways, so I thought it would be better to make the video and kind of share this stuff rather than not. So I will kind of talk about things in the order that I would apply them to my face. So I'm going to start off with a primer. So this is the Farsali Liquid Glass Radiance Make Skin Serum. Make Skin? What does that mean? All I saw was liquid glass and I was... give it to me. It has hyaluronic acid in it, so it's kind of like, with all Farsali products, they're kind of supposed to be this hybrid between skincare and makeup, which I think is really awesome, especially for a primer product. It's nice when it kind of, it smooths the skin and blurs things, but it also, has nice skincare ingredients, so it feels like you're doing something nourishing to the skin. And this one, I'd say any skin type really can use this, but I think it's ideal obviously for normal to dry skin types. My skin type is generally normal, like more so spring and summer it's normal, and then in the winter I live in a very dry climate, so it can definitely get more dry. But all through the year my skin type is quite acneic, so I break out really easily. But I find that this primer I have no problems with breaking out with this, and it's really great in the fall and winter months because it really plumps up the skin. That hyaluronic acid does such an amazing job of just making your skin feel baby soft and look hydrated and look dewy and just super fresh. It looks great underneath makeup. You can use it like very targeted in areas where you just want to glow, or you can really like slather this on your face and it sinks in quite nicely, but it does leave a very slight kind of a tacky texture to the skin, so makeup does stick to it quite nicely, which is really awesome. So it comes in a little dropper bottle. I'm sure you've seen with Farsali products how they come in little droppers, and it's very liquidy, and it's kind of like this really pretty, like almost like holographic. It doesn't have sparkles in it, but it does have this really beautiful kind of like a pearly, almost bluish silver kind of a sheen to it, but that doesn't really translate as being kind of blue or silver on the skin. It really just looks very glassy on the skin. So as you can see, it just makes my skin look very healthy, and it's already pretty much sunk in. It just has that slight amount of tack to it. So I would really highly recommend this if you get dry skin during the winter months, or you have dry skin just in general and you're looking for a nice primer that is just going to give you like a really dewy look underneath makeup without affecting the wear of the makeup. Because I find a lot of dewy type primers, sometimes they're just like too oily, or they're too hydrating and they're too emollient, so when you put makeup on top of it, it does look very glowy, but it actually breaks down your makeup quite quickly throughout the day. And this, since it is that skincare makeup hybrid, it looks beautiful on the skin, it has the skincare ingredients, but it actually works beautifully underneath makeup. Okay, so the next product is from Charlotte Tilbury, and this is the Hollywood Flawless Filter. So this is an interesting product because I remember when this first came out, a lot of people thought this was a primer, and it kind of is in a way, but I noticed a lot of people who would kind of use this and just kind of slather it all over the face didn't like the way that it looked, and it didn't necessarily do a ton for like smoothing their skin or filling in fine lines, pores, or anything like that the way a lot of primers do. This one is really, to me, a kind of a cream liquid highlight, and that's the way that I like to use it. So I will use this over a primer but underneath foundation, and the nice thing about this is that you can use it over a foundation as well, and it doesn't disrupt your foundation or kind of lift anything off. It's just such a beautiful, natural, healthy kind of a glow to the skin. So it comes in a really big doe foot applicator, kind of like the Clinique, and when you put it on, it really completely shears out on the skin, and it leaves you with this super healthy kind of a sheen, a super healthy natural glow to the skin. There's no glitter, there's no sparkle, it just almost adds this kind of like natural metallic sheen to the skin. It's really stunning, and the really awesome thing about this product is that it comes in a lot of different colors, so you don't have to worry about that kind of one size fits all highlighter, where the undertone is a little bit wrong, or if you have a deep skin tone it ends up looking a little bit ashy or too silvery on you. I definitely think this is like a slept on type of a product because personally I think this works on any skin type, any age and any skin tone, since there is a sort of nice variety of shades in there. It's such a universal product, and I think literally anyone who wants that kind of an extra glow to their routine would definitely appreciate this. Okay, so next is the Lila Bee Aglow Face Mist. So this is finished. I actually just finished it yesterday, so I didn't even get to use it in my makeup today. So sad. But this is a really, really stunning face mist that is kind of like an oil-based face mist. So for me, I actually don't use this ever to set my makeup. I find that when I first got this and I would try and spray it over finished makeup, the sprayer on it is too thick, and because it's oil based, it would spray kind of like these large droplets out onto my skin, and the oil would immediately kind of break up the foundation in the area that it would land on, and so I would have little dots of areas where the makeup had been removed, and it would just like completely mess up my makeup because you can't really go back from there, you know? And for me, the way that I learned to love this product was by either spraying it on my brush, on my face, or my sponge when I'm applying foundation. So because of the oils in here, it's kind of like that trick of adding like a drop of oil to your foundation to make it, you know, a little bit more emollient, to blend better, and to make it like a little bit more hydrating. And for me, this does basically the same thing, but because it's a mist, it seems like a little bit easier to control for me. I don't necessarily like adding oil into my foundation because, you know, sometimes I use stick foundations, or if you add a little bit too much oil, it completely kind of breaks down the makeup and messes it up. I feel like because it's a sprayer bottle, it adds just such a fine little amount of mist, and you can really customize how much you want. A lot of times I'll find that I'll spray my sponge like 1 or 2 times and then kind of go in with like a third of my face, and then another 2 sprays and another third of my face. So in all, I use about like 6 sprays on my entire face, and it just makes whatever foundation I use blend into the skin and really kind of melt into the skin in a way that just a damp sponge doesn't do on its own. It's really great, especially now going into the fall winter months where my skin is more dry. So if you've tried the Tatcha Luminous Dewy Skin Mist, I would definitely say this is like an equivalent product to that, because they both are kind of like those oil-based skincare face mists, and with both of them, they do add that beautiful glow to the skin. They make everything blend better and feel a little bit more hydrating, but the con with both is that if you are to kind of spray it straight onto the skin and you use too much, they can be sticky and they can feel heavy. So it's definitely something that, again, is probably a little better for a normal to dry skin type, but I definitely think that any skin type could use this. It's just kind of dependent on how much you use. It also smells really, really lovely. It has that kind of like herbal botanical essential oil mixture type of a scent to it. I don't think there's any like synthetic fragrances in here, but it does smell really, really nice, which I very much enjoy. So I have foundation. This is the Hourglass Vanish Stick Foundation, and I have 2 shades. I have Vanilla and Light Beige. So I would say Vanilla is definitely more of like my actual skin tone, and Light Beige is a little bit deep on me, but I use them both. So there's Vanilla, and then there is Light Beige. So you can definitely see that Light Beige is a little bit too deep on me, but I always use it kind of just really lightly in like areas that I would contour. So I take a little bit around my forehead, and then a little bit in the hollows of my cheeks, and then a little bit on the jawline, and then the majority of what I use is the Vanilla shade, and I kind of put that everywhere else. For me, I really love these foundations when I mix them in with other foundations, because these have a really beautiful kind of a creamy texture to them. If I take a more sheer foundation, they add a lot of coverage to it, or if I take a matte foundation, it helps it blend a little easier and just be a little bit more kind of like creamy and hydrating on the skin. I really don't ever use these on their own. I almost exclusively use them mixed in with other products. I can use them with matte foundations, I can use them with hydrating foundations, you know, liquid, cream formulas, it doesn't really matter. They just kind of mix in really, really well, and they always add that little bit of something that I feel like I'm missing in a lot of foundation formulas. I feel like it's just that little bit of creamy blendability and that coverage that I feel like sometimes I just want more of in other foundations. And whenever I'm missing that, all I have to do is just add a little bit of these, and it always makes my skin look so flawless and very full coverage, but in a just very natural, kind of soft, blurred, moisturized kind of way. I don't know, it adds a really, really beautiful look to the skin. I would definitely say that these are probably better for normal combination dry skin types. I feel like if you're oily, they might be like a little bit too creamy and they might not last super well on the face, but I don't know, it could be remedied if you're using a more matte type of a primer. Definitely let me know if you do have an oily skin type and you love these, because I would be very interested in hearing if it works out on an oily skin type. The one con I will say with this product, and I think it's also the reason why I don't necessarily use this on its own, is that if you use too much of this, because it does have that kind of thick creamy texture to it, it can feel kind of heavy on the skin and it can sort of get cakey throughout the day. So I feel like that's why I kind of love to mix it in with other things, because it does add that moisturizing feeling, that kind of, you know, thick blendability. But I'm never tempted to use too much because I'm already using another foundation mixed in, if that makes sense. So yeah, I really love this, and I have and will use this on its own. It's not that I never use this on its own and I hate it on its own. I just feel like when I do use this on its own, I can sometimes go overboard and apply a little bit too much. So I feel like it's just, it adds a beautiful like to other foundations. So next is the Urban Decay Brow Blade. I have mine in the shade Gingersnap, which is obviously an auburn shade, and this I bought in September, so I've only been using it a few weeks, but I already know that I love this product. So this is a dual-ended brow pencil. I'm sure you've all seen it before. One end has a very fine-tipped pencil, and then the other side is a felt tip ink pen. I've always wanted to get this, but I never did, and I don't know why I waited so long to get this, because this is like my perfect magical unicorn brow product. Like, this is everything that I could ask for in a brow product. So that is the pen side, and then this is the pencil. The formula on both sides of this is amazing. There's not one that I prefer more. I generally use a pencil to kind of create the shape on the lower part of my brow, and then I will kind of add the hair-like strokes and the definition with the ink pen part. The combination of using the super fine tip pencil with the pen just makes your brows look like so feathery and full and beautiful, and I don't know, I just feel like it's such a genius product to have them in one, because otherwise you'd be paying double to have, you know, two separate products to kind of do the same thing. I feel like the reason why I never ended up buying this is because I don't think this necessarily has the best reviews. I feel like there's only like 3.5 to 4 stars on this, but I don't know, this is like a 5-star product for me. It's so freaking good. There's not much I can say because it is kind of like a brow product, but not all brow products are obviously created the same. And for me, the fact that it does have the pencil and the pen, which are the two things that I love to use, plus the fact that the formula on both sides is amazing, just makes this such a standout product. And I feel like I'm not really ever gonna stray from this because it's so good. Okay, so next is blush, and this is the Physicians Formula Butter Blush, and this is in the shade Vintage Rouge. So this is the only shade I have of this butter blush, and it makes me sad because they have such a small shade selection on their blushes, and I feel like this is literally the only shade that appealed to me at all. I wish they would expand the shade range on these blushes the way that they've done with the butter bronzers, because everyone knows by now that this is such a standout line from the drugstore. So there it is swatched, and as you can see in the pan, it's a very neutral nude kind of a peach color, and once you get it on the skin you can definitely see the warmth in there. It adds a really beautiful warmth to the cheeks, but it still is a very nude kind of a peachy color, so it goes with absolutely everything. I'm sure you've all tried this formula before. Obviously it's the same as the bronzer. It has that very soft silky kind of a texture to it. It almost feels like a hybrid between a cream and a powder, and it smells so delicious. It has the same kind of like tropical sunscreen type scent to it. Wear on this is really beautiful because it does have that kind of creamy texture to it. It's very smooth on the skin. It never accentuates anything. This particular shade is matte, so you obviously don't have any sparkle or anything that could potentially emphasize texture. And it wears really nicely and it blends beautifully on the skin, and it does have that almost like a hydrating type of a feel. But yeah, I really love that. I've been using that so much for the past few months, and it's nice that it's drugstore. The only con is that I wish they would expand their shade range, because for how popular their butter products are, they have such a small sort of range of colors in their blushes. Okay, so I have 2 more products. I actually should have put this before the blush, but it's okay. This is a face powder, and this is the Giorgio Armani Neo Nude Fusion Powder, and I have mine in the shade 3. So this is the second one of these. My original one was in the shade 5.5, which I bought a few years ago when I had been self-tanning like all the time during the summer because the 5.5 matched my self-tan shade, and then it was like winter and blah blah and I hadn't been self-tanning as much. I really wanted to buy this powder again, but in a shade, you know, that would fit my natural skin tone. So this powder is one of the most unique powders I own. You can see I love it because I've hit pan on it. And if you were to ask me and you had dry skin, like what powder would you be able to use without it accentuating your dry skin, this would hands down be the powder that I would recommend to you, because this powder, more so than any other powder I've used, has this super hydrating kind of a feel to it. This powder does also have like a little bit of a sheen to it, which also helps if you have dry skin and you like powders that have a little bit of a luminous glow to it. But I definitely think this powder has too much color to use as a finishing powder. For me, this is definitely a setting powder. And I find that this powder is just, it's so hydrating. It's so weird, but anytime I add it over any type of a matte foundation, even though it's a powder, it really just helps to add a little bit of hydration and like luminosity back into my skin without it just being like a sparkle. Like some luminous type powders really are just very dry, but they have sparkle. The formula on this really does feel like you're adding a little bit of like a hydration element to your skin, but it doesn't feel watery or anything like that, like the Becca powder that kind of feels like water when it breaks on your skin. It's not like that. This is almost kind of like a thick, creamy type of a powder, but it doesn't look thick or cakey on the skin. It just really adds this like creaminess to the skin. I feel like I've said that word so many times in this video. I'm sorry if you hate that word, but I feel like this really does add that look to the skin. It just makes your skin look, ooh, just so healthy and hydrated and delicious, but you still have that element of setting your makeup since it is, you know, a powder product. Whenever I use a matte foundation or it's winter or I'm feeling dry or just any of those combination of things, this is always the powder I go for because I know that it's never going to kind of mattify my skin or make my skin feel dry and uncomfortable. It actually is a very very feeling powder, and it sucks that we can't like test and swatch things in Sephora, because otherwise I would tell you if your Sephora carries this to just go feel the powder because it feels so nice and creamy on the skin. I highly recommend this if you're someone who has dry skin, who still wants to set down your makeup but has a really hard time finding powders that don't make your skin just like so tight and dry afterwards. One thing that's super cute, that's just like an attention to detail type thing, is that the color of your compact actually matches the color of your powder. So obviously if you have like a lighter or deeper powder, your compact is going to vary to kind of match the color inside, which is nice because for me, since I have more than one of these, I always know which one I'm reaching for because I just have to look at the color on the compact. Okay, so the last two things I have are from Dose of Colors, and these are their Block Party single eyeshadows. I have the shades Shall We Dance and Encore. So the shade that I have on today on the inner half of my lid is the shade Shall We Dance. And these Block Party eyeshadows are just these super foily, glittery, beautiful eyeshadows that just make such a gorgeous impact color on the lids. So this one is a really stunning kind of a mid-tone rose gold type of a shade. And as you can see, it's super pigmented. That was just going in with one swipe. This color is a rose gold, but as you can see, it almost has like that nice amount of warmth to it. And then the next shade, which this is actually my favorite one, and this is the shade Encore. And this is this beautiful, super warm, kind of an orangey, reddy brown. Add that there. Oh my god, so beautiful. The reflex in this are kind of like a warm gold kind of a tone. Oh my god, this is such a beautiful, actually very unique kind of a color. The mixture of the kind of undertone with the sparkles and that kind of metallic finish in there, it's actually a super unique eyeshadow, and it's one that I almost always end up reaching for when I kind of don't know what else to do. And yeah, after using these two, I definitely want to get more because I reach for these two eyeshadows all the time. They just add that perfect kind of impact to make your eyeshadow look really pop. You know, sometimes you just put on an eyeshadow look and you're like, it's missing something, you know? And I feel like whenever I add these, I'm always like, that's exactly what I was looking for. You know, that little bit of shine and sparkle. It's just, ooh, it's so good. Okay, so that is is everything. Those are all the products that I have been loving and just have not been able to stop using for the past month or so. Please tell me what some of your favorites are. I love hearing what other people have been, you know, just enjoying and using. And yeah, that's it. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it was helpful in one way or another. If it was, please like and subscribe, and have an amazing day or night wherever you are. Bye!